Today, we turn to Capitol Hill, where a tense and highly unusual exchange has ignited questions about honesty, transparency, and the boundaries of grand jury secrecy. If you follow government oversight, this is one you'll want to understand clearly.
Thanks, Chairman. My comments today about FBI chiefs testifying honestly and not lying to Congress are particularly relevant in light of your opening statement. Let me start with the basic fact behind all of this, that the current FBI director pled the fifth in the matter where he ended up providing grand jury testimony. We've never had an FBI director come through this committee who had pled the fifth before. As you know, when you plead the fifth, to do it honestly, you have to have a good faith belief that your testimony would subject you to criminal liability, which meant if Patel was being honest, he had a good faith belief that his testimony would subject him to criminal liability. As that went forward, he ended up getting immunity from the government in order to testify. If this were a court, a civil court, a judge would allow an adverse inference to be drawn against the witness who had asserted the fifth. In Patel's proceedings, we were never even allowed to get to the bottom of the grand jury testimony. Why he pled the fifth, what he said, all of that was papered over as he went through this committee to confirmation. So for obvious reasons, I pursued that question, just as you would, Chairman, if the shoe were on the other foot. And I believe that Patel lied to us in the committee. He said that he couldn't share his grand jury testimony, and I'm quoting him here, because there's a court order on that case, he said. He said again, I can't go into court orders granted by the DC District Chief Judge. And then when I pressed him further, he challenged me saying, you want me to violate a court order? He then went on to say to Senator Booker that his grand jury testimony has been sealed by the Department of Justice, and I'm not allowed to discuss it here. Well, as it turns out, none of that was true. All of that was false. And we know that because the DC District Chief Judge, who he mentioned in his false statement to this committee, said, and I'm quoting the judge, July 2025, Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 6E allows witnesses like Patel to divulge the contents of their testimony, meaning that nothing was preventing him from doing so before the committee, unquote. So it sure looks like he lied about that. So in his recent testimony, I asked him again. And now he offered the committee a new and different lie, which is that he had released the transcript already. He said, first of all, I'd love my grand jury testimony to be released. I want it made public. And then he said, I wanted the transcript released, and I will get it to you, sir, to me. I wanted the transcript released, and I will get you the transcript. He said to me, we can confirm that pursuant to my action, that grand jury testimony has been released, the transcript. He said the transcript has been released publicly. He told Senator Booker, well, I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. So, as it turns out, no transcript was released. He was making up that lie, probably to get away from having to answer our questions. But now we have an FBI director who first lied in committee about a non-existent court order and had that lie exploded by the actual judge who he claimed had him under court order, and then lied in committee about having released a transcript that we all know has not been released. I think on that state of facts, we're entitled to get the transcript that he says he wants us to have, that he says he released publicly, and that the judge has confirmed is not under any court order of protection. So, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to working with you. I know you have a strong interest in FBI chiefs testifying honestly in this committee and not lying to Congress to try to get to the bottom of what is going on, because those seem like two pretty flagrant and obviously provable lies. And we'll follow up for further assistance to get to the bottom of this. But I don't think it's asking too much to ask the committee's support, to ask Director Patel to do what he says he has already done, which is to release the grand jury transcript of his testimony and provide it to us. Thank you.
So stay with us and remember to subscribe for continued deep dives like this. A senator opened his remarks with a sharp critique of the current FBI Director, Kash Patel, drawing attention to what he described as a troubling and unprecedented situation. According to the senator, Patel, before taking the helm at the FBI, invoked his Fifth Amendment right during a legal proceeding in which he later provided grand jury testimony. Now, invoking the Fifth isn't illegal, but it does usually mean the witness believes their answers could expose them to criminal liability. That detail alone set the stage for what the senator believes is a serious breach of trust. And if you want more breakdowns of complicated political moments like this, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss one. The senator then went further, claiming that Patel misled the committee during his confirmation process by asserting he was bound by a court order that prevented him from discussing his grand jury testimony. But according to the senator, the judge involved later clarified that under federal rules, a witness is absolutely allowed to share their own testimony unless a specific, explicit order says otherwise. That distinction matters. Grand jury secrecy rules generally tie the hands of prosecutors, not witnesses. This is the kind of nuance that often gets lost in political shouting matches, and it is exactly why subscribing helps you stay informed with context that cuts through the noise. The controversy didn't stop there. In more recent testimony, Patel reportedly claimed that his grand jury transcript had already been released publicly, insisting he had taken action to make it available. Yet the senator says no such transcript has surfaced. If that's accurate, it raises questions about whether the director misspoke under pressure, misunderstood the status of his transcript, or knowingly made false claims. Understanding the implications here is important. Lying to Congress is a serious allegation, but so is making an allegation without ironclad evidence. Oversight only works when both sides play by the rules. If you value this kind of even-handed breakdown, subscribe for more comprehensive coverage. From the senator's perspective, the pattern is unmistakable. First, the claimed court order that didn't exist. Now, an assertion that a transcript was publicly released when it hasn't been. Put together, he argues these amount to two clear instances of dishonesty from the nation's top law enforcement official. But from a broader standpoint, here's what viewers should take away. Moments like this underscore why transparency matters so deeply for public trust. When legal processes like grand jury testimony intersect with political confirmation hearings, misunderstandings about what is allowed and what is restricted can quickly turn into accusations. And this is why it's so important to subscribe so that you can stay ahead of developments and understand the legal and political systems shaping these debates. Now, the senator is calling on the committee to formally request the transcript, not because of speculation, he says, but because the director himself insisted he wanted it public and claimed he had already released it. The argument is straightforward. If the director believes in transparency, if he maintains that the transcript is already out there, and if the judge says nothing bars him from releasing it, then producing it should not be controversial. The larger issue is whether Congress and the public can maintain confidence in FBI leadership when such disputes arise. And for more analysis on how these kinds of oversight battles affect national institutions, don't forget to hit subscribe. As this story unfolds, it raises bigger questions about the tension between government transparency, legal confidentiality rules, and political accountability. Did misunderstandings escalate into accusations, or is there something more serious at play? What happens next could determine not only the future of the FBI's leadership, but also how Congress handles disputes over testimony in the years ahead. We'll continue covering this closely, so subscribe if you want ongoing updates and smart, accessible explanations of every twist. If you'd like this script in a more conversational tone, a shorter version, or a voiceover-ready format, I can do that too.